Welcome to Good Screenwriting. I'm Trevor Meyer, and today we're going to talk about Thor Ragnarok. I love this movie. It's fantastic. I give it a 5 out of 5. All right? That's the short version. The short version of this is a fantastic movie. I love it so much. If you liked Thor and Thor the Dark World, you're going to like this movie. If you did not like Thor and Thor the Dark World, you're going to like this movie. Here's why. It's true to what came before, but it also completely demolishes it and rebuilds the franchise from the ground up. So anything that may have been wrong with it before has been remedied, my friends. So this is, and I don't mean like good, like I like this, but nobody else does. A lot of people like this movie, and I like it too. I think it ranks up there among the best Marvel movies out there, which was not necessarily true of the first two Thor movies. This is the best of the three Thor movies by far. Maybe not by far. It's almost impossible to compare the first and the third movie because the first movie is like Hamlet, and the third movie is like The Hangover. All right, that's the kind of tone that we're going for here. Now, Hamlet is a great story. The Hangover is a great story and a great movie. Um, so that's what we're looking at here. Thor, the first movie, a very much it's a drama with a little bit of comedy mixed in. This is a comedy with a little bit of drama mixed in here and there. So it almost reminds me of Iron Man and Iron Man 3 in that regard, being that Iron Man, people think of Iron Man as being a very funny movie, and it was in some spots, but Iron Man is a drama with a little bit of comedy mixed in. Most of it's taken very seriously. Iron Man 3 is a comedy with a little bit of drama thrown in, all right? They reverse the dynamic, they flip it upside down, and this is very much a comedy. It's a comedy through and through. I hear that 80% of the dialogue was improv, which was also true of Iron Man and Iron Man 3, where most of the dialogue, if not all of the dialogue, was improvised. And that lends itself to a more comedic tone. So this time they embraced Chris Hemsworth's comedic ability. I think while Ghostbusters, the remake, did not do well, his interview scene as the secretary is the funniest scene in the movie, hands down. So they started to figure out how funny this guy really is, and not just like as the butt of the joke. Like it's not like I am Thor, the Almighty, God of Thunder, and he's in the real world and he just looks ridiculous. This is him being a comedian. This is him being genuinely funny and witty and hilarious. And it's not exactly like a buddy cop movie, because he and Banner they do bounce off of each other in that way. It's more like those road trip movies, whether it's Dumb and Dumber or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. In fact, I think they even referenced those movies in the making of this movie, as like having two opposing protagonists who are kind of on the same side, and yet constantly bouncing off of each other during their journey. So structurally, okay, I think I'm going to go into spoiler territory here. So bottom line, if you don't want it to be spoiled, it's a great movie. It's hilarious. It's the best of all the Thor movies. If you did not like the other Thor movies, go check this one out anyway because it's nothing like them. And yet, it still honors the continuity of what came before. It doesn't completely throw it all away, but it does. It's saying that stuff still happened, but we're very quickly going to make this our own, and it's going to become something different. Okay? So, that being said, 5 out of 5. Love it. Go see it. It's going to make a ton of money, and you can help with that. All right? It doesn't need your help, but you can help them with that. All right? Now we're going into spoiler territory in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, okay. By the end of this movie, some of the trailers have been slightly misleading. You've seen it before in other trailers where you see something in the trailer and then you go watch the movie and it's not quite right. The most recent example I can think of is Spider-Man Homecoming. There's an iconic shot in the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer where Spider-Man is swinging through New York City and Iron Man is flying next to him. And that was like the iconic shot of the trailer. Turns out that was not in the movie and was never supposed to be in the movie. They didn't shoot it for the movie. They put that little shot together just for the trailer to crystallize the idea of them working together because there wasn't really any shot of both of them in the frame together being heroic in the actual film. And I get that. Some people were a little disappointed that we didn't get to see it. But I get the idea of like you're putting a trailer together and you want to convey an idea and you look at the footage and it's actually not there. You don't have one clean shot to explain what the movie's about. So I kind of get that. I mean, maybe in the old school sense, you should probably only use footage that's actually in the movie. But I get it. I understand what that was about. Thor Ragnarok, some of it was due to reshoots. Some of it was deliberately misleading. But not in a sinister way, just to avoid spoilers. Here are a couple things that are different. When Thor's hammer gets destroyed, in the trailer, this happens in New York. It's in an alley or on a street corner or something like that. In the actual movie, it's a wide open field in Norway. Okay, happens in the middle of nowhere, and that was just a reshoot. After they had already released the trailer, the director felt that New York wasn't the right setting for that confrontation, so they switched it to the plains of Norway. Now, that probably has to do with the other big thing, which is Odin's death, all right? Odin, maybe in the original version of the movie, died in New York, and maybe he was saying that if Asgard ever was destroyed, Asgardians could live in New York, and maybe that was the problem. Maybe Norway made more sense, so they reshot that scene. Also, there's an iconic scene in the trailer where all four of the quote-unquote Revengers are on the Rainbow Bridge, which would be Thor, Valkyrie, Loki, and the Hulk. Problem is, that shot is not in the movie. You never have Loki standing side by side with the other three characters. He actually is doing his own thing. He's still there. He still participates in the battle, but they never line up on the bridge like that. That may be sort of like the Spider-Man Homecoming shot, where you just needed one iconic shot to kind of crystallize them working together, when really Loki is never in that shot. Again, kind of bummed out that that didn't happen in the movie, but I get it. I understand why they did that. Here's the big one, though. In some of the trailers, you have Thor lit up with lightning because he's found his own inner power without his hammer. His hammer's been destroyed, but he finds out that he actually always had that power within him, and the hammer just helped him focus it. But if he can, unlock his mind, he can actually generate the lightning all by himself. And there's this great shot in the trailer where you see his eyes are lit up with lightning and he's, got electricity going up and down his body and all that stuff. But guess what? That is in the movie. And that's not a fake out. The shot is different in one major way, and that is he is missing an eye. He's missing an eye because Hela, the goddess of death, cut it out with a sword. Yes. In their fight, she slashes at his face with a sword, and his eye is gone, Odin style, all right? He spends the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie with only one eye. And at the end of the movie, he gets a golden eye patch, just like Odin's, all right? And this is important because they figure out Loki is impersonating Odin, so the jig is up. And then Odin actually does die. And then, of course, Hela, big reveal here is that Hela is actually Odin's firstborn, not Thor. So Odin pulled an Obi-Wan Kenobi on these guys and lied to them about their entire backstory. Turns out he had a daughter before Thor. It was Hela. So in Asgardian lineage, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's not a firstborn son. Firstborn anything. So she's the firstborn, which makes her the queen of Asgard. All right? But once they take her out, Thor is next in line. And he does become the king of Asgard. And I didn't think that was ever going to happen, honestly. Because in the first one, he wanted to be the king. And he finds out he's not ready. Second one, Odin wants him to be king. He says, you are ready. And Thor's like, no, you know what? I don't want to do this. I want to go home and be with Jane. Well, they handled that pretty quickly in this movie. 2 lines of dialogue. 2 lines of dialogue, and that's all the attention that Jane Foster gets. One of Thor's fans in New York City comes up and takes a selfie with him, and she says, sorry Jane dumped you. And Thor says, she didn't dump me, I dumped her. And that's it. That's all the attention they give to Jane Foster's character. There's no Darcy, there's no Selvig. Almost all of the supporting characters are gone from the Thor franchise. Either they weren't in it at all or they get killed off very quickly. All right, again, spoilers. Odin dies. The Warriors 3 die. Sif is not even in this movie. Jane's not in it. Darcy's not in it. Selvig's not in it. Anyone, Heimdall's in it, and he survives. Okay, Heimdall is the one supporting character that they stick with, but there's almost no one. Heimdall and Loki. All right, Thor, Heimdall, and Loki are the only ones who survive all 3 Thor movies, apparently, that I can remember. The other ones are either not in the movie at all, or they get killed off very quickly. And that's what I mean by tearing it down and rebuilding it from the ground up. All the people, places, and things that you love from the Thor franchise will all get destroyed so they can be replaced by other cooler things. All right? So, because Jane's no longer in the picture, Thor has no reason to deny his rightful place as king. So, he actually does take his place as king, but another big spoiler, they destroy Asgard. Not the villain. Thor and Loki destroy Asgard on purpose because Hela gets her power from Asgard. They cause Ragnarok and destroy Asgard. Alright? But the big moral of the story is that Asgard is not a place, it's a people, and anywhere that the Asgardians live, that will be the new Asgard. Sort of like New Vulcan from Star Trek. But also it's very, very much like Iron Man 3, where even if he destroys all of his suits, he's still Iron Man. Tony Stark is Iron Man. The suits are just a tool used by Iron Man, all right? He himself had the power all along. Same with Thor. Thor does not get his power from his hammer. And Asgard is not a physical place. Asgard is wherever Asgardians live, and as long as Asgardians are still around, there will be an Asgard. And he doesn't need his hammer, he has the power inside of him. So it's the same story. It's the same general message. So I could go on for much longer on this. I may have to do a longer commentary for this movie, for a feature-length commentary on it. But for now, I'm just going to say it's fantastic, it's funny, it reboots the franchise. Well, it doesn't reboot, but it reinvigorates the franchise in a brand new way. Even though this is probably going to be the last Thor movie with Chris Hemsworth in it. They're probably going to pull an Iron Man move where it's 1, 2, 3, then they're done for a while, but he'll still show up in other movies like The Avengers Infinity War, The Avengers 4, whatever that is, and he'll probably make cameo appearances in other solo movies like Doctor Strange 2, maybe. Doctor Strange 2. So that's what I love about the MCU. Even though you only have 3 Iron Man movies, he can keep coming back. He can be in the Avengers. He can be in Captain America. He can be in Spider-Man. It's a shared universe. So even if they don't do any more solo movies with Thor, his story will continue. And eventually they're going to write these characters out, leave them gone for a while because the universe is a big place and they can still do Black Panther and Doctor Strange and Ant-Man and have those characters carry it forward. and then maybe way down the line, 10, 15, 20 years from now, recast the original team members, and then people will be so excited to have those characters back that they won't care that much that they've been recast with new actors. All right, so right now, if you recast Iron Man, there'd be an uprising. Nobody would stand for that. But if you make Iron Man go away for 10, 15, 20 years, and then bring him back with a new actor, people will get it. People will understand. They'll just be excited to have that character back. All right? So I think that's what their move is. They're going to get as much mileage as they can out of these original actors, and then they're going to write them out, and they're not going to be back for a while until the fans really start to miss them, and then they can recast. All right? So I think it's a brilliant strategy. I think it's such a big universe that they can go on telling stories forever, and they probably will because these are making a ton of money. This is like the new version of James Bond, all right? They can make a new one every couple of years or every year, and I think it's going to go forever. People didn't get sick of James Bond, and they're not going to get sick of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is going to go on for another 50 years, all right? So, what did you think of this movie? If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. I just spoiled the whole plot for you, but it's still enjoyable. If you have seen it, go ahead and leave your comments in the section below. Tell me what you think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? How does this stack up with the rest of the Marvel movies? Love to hear your feedback. All right? This is Good Screenwriting, and I'm Trevor Meyer. See you next time.